Thank you. Good morning, good evening to all the participants, and thank you, Murthy and Lena, for this opportunity. So today, my topic is on going to be on trusted AI, right? When the data cannot be trusted. Just give me a second. I'm just trying to lower this one so that screen is visible. Yeah. So yeah, so this is what we are going to see today. Okay, so what is trusted AI and why do we need trusted AI and what is the trusted AI framework? It is like a very generic global framework that most of the organizations currently use. And what are the missing links in this framework and what do we do when the data itself cannot be trusted, right? Because data is the ecosystem of AI. So what shall we do, when we can't trust the data itself? So this is going to be the agenda, and I hope this will be a nice session for everyone. And please feel free to type your questions. Right. So now more than ever, right? We have an explosion of these jargons everywhere. We are hearing about trusted AI, responsible AI, ethical AI, right? Explainable AI, and explainable AI in the last couple of years has grown so much. Why are we, hearing all these jargons, right? First of all, AI has seen a massive explosion in the past 5 years, right? The growth, which is predicted by Gartner, it's going to be from 300 to 400%. And now with LLMs, coming into the picture, like the Chat GPT is, taking over the various industries, right? AI has really exploded, and now everyone wants to jump into AI, right? So that is the main reason, with the explosion of the AI, all these questions, right? Whether I can trust the AI, whether, whatever that comes out of that AI, is it reliable, right? Is it safe? Is it ethical? Is there like a set of people, who are affected because of AI? Are there people who are going to lose jobs because of AI, right? Because of all these questions and confusions and chaos and worries, all these jargons, has come into the picture, right? So AI, like any other thing, right? If we have a car, then the car everything has to be maintained, and if we have software solutions, right? Though all the softwares will always be governed in an organization, right? Similarly, AI also has to be governed. So what would happen if we never govern our AI, right? So an organization can use AI for anything. It can use AI for marketing campaigns. It can use AI to decide whether someone's loan must be approved or not, someone must be hired or not. Even forget about hiring. Even, if your resume must be considered or not, right? So for so many stages, AI can be used. So first is, when the AI is never governed, one would be the negative impact and a huge injustice to certain demography or ethnicity, right? Because there are, huge unfairness and bias in the data itself. See, because, traditionally, when you take, US or any other countries, right? There are certain race of people or ethnicities of people who are given more priority, and this reflects in the data. So for example, the loan approval data from across the US banks is a public data. So if you just look at it, and a Caucasian male has more probability for the loan to be approved, than a an Afro American or Hispanic or Asian male, and then a female, the probability keeps decreasing. So if the AI is never governed, and if we never validate the results that comes out of AI, surely these bias and unfairness will keep continuing. And then comes unsafe business decisions. So for example, AI can also be used, say, for predicting what would be uh, the kilowatts of energy that might go into a transformer, right? So based on that, the transformer's configurations and the setup can all vary. And now if that the result, that the predictions and the forecasting that is going to come out of the AI solution, if that is cannot be trusted, and then if it is not, if it is taken as such, right, it could even lead to the transformer itself exploding, right? Or power plants exploding. Because even one small calculation goes wrong, it can lead to loss of life. And then, there is, always lack of business validations when it comes to black box AI models. I still remember, a decade back when all the banks, right, they always have this MRM, which is a model risk management. Basically, whatever the model, AI model we use, we should be able to explain the features and why, uh, certain, prediction is happening. What are the features that are impacting the predictions? So, 10 years back, right, we didn't have such a progress in explainable AI. So, whenever, we use any kind of neural network or, any other complex models, we will not be able to explain it properly. So, that's the time, we always fall back on logistic regression or random forest or, decision trees where we can easily explain the results, right? So now, when certain, not, all institutions and organizations will have such risk models in place. So if the customer, sorry, the organizations, they don't really care about what is really inside happening in the AI model, then it can lead to a lot of chaos, right? So because we can't give the autonomy to the AI itself. So these are a few of the things that could really happen if the AI is never governed. And I'll just give you one of the notable examples is this Compass. So this is a program in US which is used in Florida and many other states. So they had a survey among the people to find out um, who are all the prisoners they came out of the jail. They are more probable to recidivate. I mean recidivate in the sense who are more probable to go back to their old ways. So the model was built. It's a regression model built on top of the survey data, and so the model building process, is very similar to what everyone follows. But then the Afro American male were predicted they were double probabilities when compared to the Caucasian male. So it's because of the bias that people have, and since the bias and unfairness were never mitigated, and if something any kind of a legal actions that were taken on the top of the results from Compass is highly unfair, right? And it could really damage someone's life, and it did damage. And then any kind of NLP model on any from lot of misinformation and news outlets and surveys. For example, ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is really revolutionizing the world right now, right? And it has so much of benefits, but it also has lot of dangers, right? Because there was one example done on the recent ChatGPT 4 where it was asked to write a very compelling essay on vaccines using disinformation. And it was really, it's really terrifying to read that. And what if that, is circulated along all the medias and the social medias and the news outlets, and people are going to read that and then, believe those information, right? So this is another example. And then the lot of the recommender systems, across various industries, they're all riddled with, a lot of ethical bias, democratic bias, social bias. So, for example, a lot of our credit card approval systems, they are highly biased towards women, which we also see, it was the later part of the session. So, these are just, three examples, that like few drops from the ocean. So, there are a lot of, real life examples where, if the AI is not governed and then it is the fairness or the bias, they are not monitored, they have caused lot of chaos to people. So that's where this the whole concept of trusted AI comes into the picture. So the whole the trusted AI is nothing but any results from the AI, it must be reliable, it should be safe, right? It should not cause any loss of life whatsoever, and then it should be ethical and legal as well. So this is the whole concept of trusted AI. So how do we, go about? Because we need a framework, right? Trusted AI. It looks very simple in the paper, but it is extremely complex process, right? So at the outer of it, right, lies our life cycle, AI life cycle process, where it starts from, we identifying the requirements, and then building your collecting data, and then building your exploring the data, building the data model, validating, and deploying and monitoring. So that entire AI lifecycle process. So each of this lifecycle process, right? All and under all these lifecycle process, all the risks related to the data, algorithm, and then the design and performance must be continuously, must be evaluated, captured, evaluated, and then mitigated. And then the core of it, lies with the AI governance. So all these, the each of the life cycle process, and then the risk. So they are all, governed, and then every process in the AI life cycle, right? So must adopt by the responsible design, and then there should be a constant vigilance and the monitoring from the all the stakeholders. So the what is this, this AI governance, actually mean? So we will see about it. So this is the trusted AI in action. So it starts the regular the life cycle, right? We have the project governance. We collect about the requirements, and then we go with the data manipulations and understanding the data, and we have the modeling. And this is where all the AI governance comes into the picture. So in the outcome analysis and the mitigation, right? So all the outcomes from the AI, right? So it will be validated whether it abides by the organizational and also any national global AI policies. And then also the bias and the fairness will also be analyzed, and if required they could be mitigated. For example, if say in a credit card approval, right? If there is like a female or a female's, rejection is pretty much, more than the male, then, one of the mitigation is you try to balance out the data. And then even if after balancing, the data, still, the bias is still in the model. So one of the solution, we can use generative models like GANs to create synthetic data, and then, we can build a model on top of it. So likewise, there could be, various mitigations, and the mitigation can also be done at a group level. It could be done at an individual level. And then comes, the risk and the control framework also comes into the picture. So most of the financial institutions, they have this MRM, which is the model risk management. And so as per the risk and control framework, right, all your features used in the model must be explainable. So that, the AI solution is completely transparent. And also it comes the data management. So that is the privacy of the data, and also a secure architecture, so that there cannot be any kind of adversarial attacks that can be done on the AI solution. And so this continues in the monitoring after deployment as well. So this is the trusted AI, basically, in a very simple format, simple way. This is how trusted AI works in the organizations. But still, even after doing this, right, this itself is very complex. And when this comes into structured data, it is comparatively easy. But when this goes into unstructured data like text and vision and speech, so the complexity really increases. And in those stages, the research itself has just scratched the surface. So there is more need to be done. So even though there is a framework, there is still a lot of missing links, and there is a lot of missing things. Why? Because AI relies on your data. So this trusted AI, right, it is applied for each of your AI solution. It's a kind of a local thing we do. So you build one AI solution, and then you monitor for fairness and bias and explanation for that particular AI solution, right? But then the data in an organization is a kind of global to entire organization. So when the data itself is wrong, and then the data itself is riddled with unfairness and bias and lot of ethical issues, then trust purely depending only on the trusted AI at the AI solution level won't work. So that is a issue that is happening in the industry right now. So I'll give you like few examples why there are a lot of bias in the data. For example, see, the first one is a piano, right? So most of the pianists, the famous pianists are all male. And then, we don't have, except for a few, there are not, very famous female pianists. The reason is the piano, right? The length between the keys, sorry, the gap or the width between the keys, right? It is for mainly designed for a male hand than for a female hand. So if a female is going to, continuously play a piano, so there is a high probability the female will end up with arthritis or some kind of a wrist problem, right? So now that in the picture, so if we kind of, predict the algorithm, right, on all the piano players who is going to be famous in the future, that AI solution will always predict a male only will become a, famous piano player. Why? Because because of this underlying issue, there are not many female pianists that could continue for a long time, right? So similarly, so I had LinkedIn, right? So many companies use LinkedIn for suggesting courses and then recommending for some jobs and all those things. So LinkedIn, so there are the women are given always recommended for a lower profile compared to a male. So I have seen this in a very my own experience itself. So there is my colleague in my previous organizations who have way less 3 4 years less experience than me. So I always been asked to attend a course or at developer level roles have been offered to me compared to my male colleague who has been asked to take AI course and then offer, roles like directors or senior managers. So I was very curious, and one time, I asked one of the recruiter, and why is this happening? So it seems, it is the way the data has been, and then the algorithm has been trained. And similarly on the credit card, right? So a female and a male, right? Even if they are having the same debt to income ratio and then a credit score, so a male always has a higher probability for their credit card approval, credit card, to be application to be approved compared to a female because that's how the historic data has been. And then so this is the car dummies, right? Car test dummies. So the all of the car crash test dummies, they are designed on a male anatomy. So when this issue was raised, then the later a female dummy was created, but then it was still not right because the upper body anatomy of a male and a female are completely different. They only reduce the size of the dummy. So if any kind of AI that's going to be built on top of this data, that's going to be completely wrong. And then comes all this assistants, like Siri and all. If you see all of the any kind of this has always a female voice because it's a female, it's always associated with roles like secretary and personal assistants, than males, right? So why can't we have really deep male voice assistants as well in the industry, right? So, and then comes, motorbikes and the scooters, right? So traditionally, all these, vehicles are designed with male in the mind. So, I mean, I don't want to name the brand, but recently, we bought an electric scooter, and so the pretty much, all the testing was done only using male, and then the female drivers or female who could sit with the drivers, they were not actually, they didn't have that in the mind. So when we bought it and then, I tried to get on it, it was a really, humongous task because in India, right, the average height of a female is around, 5'5". So I'm 5'7", but still, I had difficulty to, sit on the scooter, very comfortably. So, so when one of my friend was working there as a data scientist, so when I checked with them, so they said, the average height, it was assumed to be around, 5'7" to 5'8". So predominantly the male demographic, was kept in the mind. So this is not to, call out on any brand or anything, but then in general, this is just few examples. So there is bias and, ethical issues is all over across the industries, right? So that is where the missing link comes into the picture. So right now, the trusted AI. So the AI governance, is used to create that trusted AI. But what we also need is the data governance, right? Because the data governance is still across multiple industries. So there, as a part of the data governance, right? So there is data catalog, and then there is MDM, and there is data quality, but then data governance and AI governance, they always stand separately. So to create a really, the actual workable trusted AI, so the data governance and then the AI governance has to come together. Then only, we will be able to have a very reliable trusted AI. And this trusted AI, need not be very local to each of the AI solution, but it should be a global across organizations. So it is, think about this, right? If someone is like, really obese and having, a lot of health issues, and then, they want to come down to the weight, right? So first approach is like, they take medicines, and then find out what is the problem, and then, they mitigate. So that is the AI governance. And then the data governance portion is you start, the person, should start exercising, and then make sure what about the whatever, the food they are taking is very clean and nutritious and healthy, right? You stop at that level itself, right? So that is the data governance. So you ensure the data that is, going to be used for AI is legal and ethical and, unbiased in the first place. So that itself will really, solve lot of issues. And it is not as easy as we think, right? But then it is doable. So how can we, make really data fair, right? So the first is question your data. Like keep questioning your data. Is it, its representation, and is it ethical? Is it, is there like lot of bias in the data? Is the data collection process, fair, right? So how is this data has come into the picture? So really, question lot of your data. To question that, what do we need is increase the people representation, right? For example, if you think of my previous example of the electric scooter, right? So since I have so much of difficulty, right, I raised the question: why is it so hard for women, to get on this electric scooter? Who did the testing, and what did really happen? And that could all these questions, can be raised only if there is, proper people representation. So that's why, there are a lot of, celebrations or conferences around women in tech, women in AI, and women in STEM, right? So why do we need a lot of women into the picture? Because we need to not just women and all different genders and orientations, right? Because then we will be able to make a fair representation, and not just only women or demography, and also, it applies to different, geographies, everything, right? And then, comes the in many of the, the NLP models and computer vision and speech, in all those kind of models, data labeling and data annotation, makes a bigger have a bigger role, right? So make sure, the fairness is adopted at that stage itself. If it is adopted at that stage, then, we don't have to worry too much about what the AI solution is going to do. And then last comes the include, the fairness and ethics audit as a part of the data governance, right? So the data governance has now multiple steps. So there is a lot of a data audit and data security audit, but let's also add, fairness and ethics audit as well as a part of the data governance. And let's all, have to organizations has to invest in AI fighting against, misinformation. So now we have a lot of generative AI. We have a very powerful LLM in the markets, but it's also time to, build an AI which can fight any kind of a misinformation that comes from those, LLMs, right? So that is also like a police AI we need to, build. So it is the need of the hour. And yeah, so this is what we all have to collectively do to make data really fair. But in spite of all these things, we could still fail when it comes to trusted AI. So these are all various acts. There is a EU Act that is recently passed in the Europe when it comes to how AI model solution should be, how the reliability, explainability, all those things. And then these are the various various acts, global acts, and then national acts that are all available. So this is a clickable link over here. So if you go around, this is a repository of all the collection of all that ethical guidelines across the world, and this is work of Alejandro Socido of Selden. So it's a really wonderful website. So please do visit. But so there are multiple acts, right? So, but why is this still chaos, right? Why trusted AI is still in the picture? Because right now, like how we have this greenwashing, when it comes to ESG and sustainability, a lot of organizations, are going towards AI trust washing. Like, for example, recently Microsoft funded OpenAI. On the other hand, they laid off the entire, ethical team who is responsible for making all their AI solutions, responsible and legal and ethical. And similarly, OpenAI has not very, open because they have stopped, sharing their all their architecture and algorithms. And then, so 2 years back, Google fired their very chief ethical officer because of she contradicted on their own LLM and the damages and the disruptions it could cause. And also, as per a survey by IBM, right? Right now, ethical AI and trusted AI is more of a boardroom conversation than a actual implementation. So it's a high time, we start taking trusted AI, seriously, and then and each of us have responsibility, towards this. So when all of us, contribute, so we could really make AI, more reliable and more trusted. So each of our voice has power, and everyone, can take that one small step towards that very beautiful future. Thank you so much.